News of the alien attack spread across Earth like wildfire. For the first time in human history, all countries forgot their old fights and focused on one thing: survival. General William Carter sat in a large room with leaders from every major nation. Just 6 months ago, many of these people had been calling him crazy for his wasteful military space programs. Now they all looked to him for answers. "The aliens will return," Carter said simply, pointing to a large screen showing the Vashani ship's path. "And next time, they'll bring friends." The president nodded. "What can we do against something that big? Their technology is far beyond ours." Carter smiled. "Technology isn't everything. We have something they don't expect: our ability to adapt." On the other side of the room, Dr. Nicole Gomes stood up. With her dark hair pulled back and circles under her eyes from lack of sleep, she still spoke with energy and hope. "I've been studying the data Commander Baker brought back," she said. "These Vashani use a form of wormhole physics for their weapons. I think we can use Earth's magnetic field to disrupt it." Many in the room looked confused, but Carter nodded. "That's exactly the kind of thinking we need. Dr. Gomes will lead what we're calling Project Slingshot. We'll fight them with physics, not just bullets." Meanwhile, across the base, Major Alan Russell was saying goodbye to his wife. Commander Susan Russell held his face in her hands, fighting back tears. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "Let someone else go." Alan shook his head. "The Vashani will be watching for normal attack ships. They won't expect a single person in a modified cargo vessel. I need to get close enough to place trackers on their fleet. Without that information, we'll be flying blind." Susan wanted to argue more, but she knew he was right. Instead, she hugged him tightly. "Then you better come back to me." "Count on it," he said, kissing her one last time before walking toward the waiting ship. In deep space, the Vashani were preparing their standard invasion force. Admiral Jex, a veteran of 17 successful planetary conquests, looked bored as he reviewed the plans. "A mid-sized fleet should be more than enough," he told his officers. "Based on their technology level, these humans have barely mastered space travel. They might have nuclear weapons, but nothing that can threaten our ships." One younger officer raised his hand. "Sir, Commander Kallick's report mentioned unusual adaptability in their response tactics." Admiral Jex laughed. "All species fight when threatened, but primitive is primitive. Prepare the standard subjugation protocol." He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "In 3 cycles, Earth will be just another footnote in the Imperium's history." Back on Earth, Dr. Gomes worked frantically with her international team. Scientists from Russia, China, India, Europe, and America all shared ideas freely, setting aside decades of secrecy and competition. "We need to think beyond traditional weapons," she told them, pointing to diagrams of Earth's magnetic field. "If we detonate precisely calculated nuclear charges at these points in the upper atmosphere, we can create localized space-time distortions." An older scientist looked skeptical. "You want to weaponize physics itself." "Exactly," she replied. "They won't be expecting that." Meanwhile, in a small room filled with computer screens, Lisa Ward continued studying the alien language. Commander Baker sat beside her, his face grim. "Have you found anything else?" he asked. She nodded. "The Vashani have conquered hundreds of worlds. They see it as their right to rule the galaxy. But there's something else." She pointed to a repeating pattern in their communications. "Some of them don't agree with the conquest. There are mentions of a movement within their empire that questions their methods." Baker leaned forward. "Could we contact them? Find allies within the Vashani?" "Maybe," she said, "but first I need to establish better communication. Their language is complex." As night fell across Earth, millions of people looked up at the stars with new understanding. Space wasn't empty after all, and humanity wasn't alone. Whether that was good or bad remained to be seen. In his small ship, hidden among space debris, Major Alan Russell approached the gathering Vashani fleet. His heart raced as he saw dozens of massive ships appearing one by one through flashes of light. "Base, this is Russell," he whispered into his radio. "You're not going to believe the size of this fleet. We're going to need a bigger slingshot." The Vashani fleet moved into position near Jupiter, their huge ships looking like new moons against the gas giant. Admiral Jex stood on his command deck, watching the final preparations. "Begin standard approach," he ordered. "Send the first wave of ships toward their planet." His officers nodded, sending the commands. 20 Vashani ships broke formation and headed toward Earth. They expected little resistance from what they considered a primitive species. They were wrong. As the Vashani ships passed Mars, thousands of small objects suddenly appeared on their sensors. At first, they ignored them. "Just space junk," their computers said. But then the objects changed course, heading directly for the Vashani ships. "What are those?" Admiral Jex asked, frowning at the screen. Before anyone could answer, the first objects reached their outer ships. Nuclear explosions bloomed in silence across the darkness of space. 3 Vashani ships spun out of control, their systems failing. "Impossible," shouted one of the officers. "These are just simple nuclear devices." Admiral Jex leaned forward, his 4 eyes narrowed. "How did they get so many of them into space without us detecting them?" On Earth, General Carter and Dr. Gomes watched the battle from mission control. The room was filled with military officers and scientists, all holding their breath as they watched the small drones they had launched weeks ago finally reach their targets. "They worked," Gomes whispered. "The drones were simple enough to avoid detection, just as Major Russell suggested." Carter nodded. "Now for Phase 2. Is Project Slingshot ready?" "As ready as it will ever be," she replied. "But we only get one shot at this." In deep space, hidden among the wreckage of the battle, Major Russell carefully piloted his small ship toward a damaged Vashani vessel. His mission: to plant tracking devices on as many ships as possible. But he saw an even better opportunity now, a chance to board one of their ships and gather direct intelligence. "Base, this is Russell," he said quietly into his radio. "I'm going to attempt to board a damaged Vashani ship. If I don't radio back in 24 hours, tell Susan I love her." Before anyone could stop him, he guided his vessel toward the crippled alien ship. Meanwhile, on a smaller Vashani scout ship, Lieutenant Tekla watched the battle with growing concern. Unlike many of her kind, she had always questioned the Imperium's endless conquests. Now, seeing the unexpected resistance from this new species, her doubts grew stronger. A message appeared on her private channel, a transmission in broken Vashani language. "This is Earth," it said. "We do not want war. We seek peace." Tekla hesitated, then responded. "This is Lieutenant Tekla. I hear you, Earth." On Earth, Lisa Ward gasped as the reply came through. "It worked," she told Commander Baker. Someone answered. Baker looked hopeful for the first time in weeks. "Can they help us?" "Maybe," Ward said. "Let me keep talking to them." Back near Mars, Admiral Jex regrouped his remaining ships. The first wave had lost 5 vessels, something that had never happened in a first contact situation. He was angry now, his pride hurt. "Prepare all ships for a full assault," he ordered. "No more games." But before his fleet could move, Earth activated Project Slingshot. Precisely placed nuclear charges detonated in Earth's upper atmosphere, creating a cascade effect through the planet's magnetic field. The resulting energy pulse shot outward, invisible until it reached the Vashani fleet. Space itself seemed to warp and twist around the alien ships. 3 vessels imploded as their wormhole drives interacted catastrophically with the distorted spacetime. Others spun out of control, their navigation systems failing. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Jex felt fear. What is this? How are they doing this? He slammed his fist down. Retreat. Regroup at Jupiter. As the Vashani fleet pulled back, cheers erupted in Earth's mission control. General Carter didn't join in. He knew this was just the beginning. "They'll be back," he said quietly to Dr. Gomes. "And next time, they'll be ready for our tricks." She nodded. "Then we'll need new tricks." Far away, in the Vashani Central Command, the High Council received news of the battle. What should have been an easy conquest had turned into an embarrassing retreat. The council leader's face darkened with anger. "Prepare the Grand Armada," he ordered. "No primitive species defies the Vashani Imperium and lives." 6 months passed. On Earth, every factory worked day and night. People from all walks of life joined the war effort. Children helped collect metal. Retired engineers returned to work. The moon, once empty, now buzzed with activity as humans built bases and weapons factories safely away from Earth. In her lab, Dr. Gomes held up a small device that glowed with blue light. "We call it a quantum disruptor," she explained to General Carter. "It targets the exact frequency of Vashani shields." Carter picked it up, turning it over in his hand. "Can we make enough of them?" "The moon factories are already producing thousands," she replied. "And the best part, we wouldn't have known how to make these without the information Major Russell sent us." Carter nodded. Everyone had thought Russell died during his mission, but 2 weeks ago they had received an encrypted message. Not only had he survived, but he had been gathering critical intelligence from inside the Vashani fleet. Meanwhile, in another part of the base, Commander Susan Russell, recently promoted to colonel, trained her special strike team. 20 men and women floated in a zero-gravity chamber, practicing combat moves that would be impossible under Earth's gravity. "Again," she shouted as they regrouped. "In space, there's no up or down. You need to think in 3 dimensions." One of her lieutenants approached. "Colonel, we just received another message from your husband." Susan's heart skipped a beat. Every message meant Ellen was still alive. "What does it say?" "The Grand Armada has arrived. Supreme Commander Vox is leading it personally. They have over 300 ships, 10 times what we faced before." Susan took a deep breath. "Then we better be ready for them." In deep space, the Vashani Grand Armada gathered. Their ships stretched as far as the eye could see, a display of power meant to crush any resistance. Supreme Commander Vox, one of the oldest and most respected Vashani warriors, addressed his fleet. "This human resistance ends now," he said, his voice cold and firm. "We have never failed to conquer a species, and we will not fail today." But not all Vashani agreed with him. Lieutenant Tekla had spent months secretly communicating with Captain Ward on Earth. Now she made her decision. Under cover of a routine patrol, she and 12 like-minded Vashani officers changed course, heading for Earth not as conquerors but as allies. "The High Council is wrong about humans," she told her small crew. "I have spoken with them. They wanted peace. We fired first." Back on Earth, final preparations were underway. Unlike last time, humans would not wait for the Vashani to attack. They would strike first. "Disguise the mining ships as asteroids," ordered General Carter. "The Vashani will be looking for our drones this time. They won't expect old mining vessels." 20 large mining ships, each loaded with massive nuclear charges, silently moved toward the Vashani fleet. Their systems were mostly shut down to avoid detection, with only minimal life support for the brave crews who volunteered for what might be a one-way mission. Captain Ward burst into the command center, her face flushed with excitement. "Lieutenant Tekla is coming. She and other Vashani who want peace are on their way to Earth right now." Carter looked skeptical. "How do we know it's not a trap?" "She's been sharing intelligence with us for months," Ward explained. "And now she's risking everything to help us." Before Carter could respond, alarms blared. On the main screen, they watched as the disguised mining ships reached the Vashani fleet. The plan worked. The aliens ignored the seemingly harmless rocks until it was too late. Nuclear explosions tore through the front of the Vashani Armada. Supreme Commander Vox's flagship rocked with the impact, but remained intact. A third of his command ships weren't so lucky. "Find who is responsible," Vox shouted, his 4 eyes blazing with fury. No primitive tricks will save them now. On Earth, people watched the distant flashes of light in the night sky. The counterattack had begun. Now the real test would come. Could humanity stand against the full might of the Vashani Grand Armée? In his hidden chamber aboard a Vashani ship, Major Alan Russell finished planting another tracking device. 6 months as a stowaway had taught him how to move unseen through the alien vessels. Now, as he felt the ship change course toward Earth, he knew the final battle was coming. "I'm coming home, Susan," he whispered. "One way or another." News of the war between humans and the Vashani spread across the galaxy. Species that had lived under Vashani rule for centuries watched with growing interest. Never before had a primitive species given the mighty Imperium such trouble. Supreme Commander Vox launched his attack on the moon base, his remaining ships firing powerful energy weapons that lit up the lunar surface. Many of the human manufacturing facilities exploded under the assault, but Vox was surprised to find that the moon itself seemed to fight back. Hidden defense systems, built deep within craters, fired quantum disruptors at his fleet. How did they build so much so quickly? He demanded as another of his ships reported shield failures. On Earth, General Carter implemented his most daring plan yet. "Operation Swarm is go," he announced. Across the planet, thousands of young men and women put on special helmets and gloves. These weren't soldiers but gamers, the best virtual reality players in the world. For months, they had trained in simulations based on Vashani battle data. Now they would pilot real ships. Thousands of tiny craft, each no bigger than a car, launched from hidden bases. Each was piloted remotely by a gamer sitting safely on Earth. The small size made them hard to hit, and if one was destroyed, the pilot simply connected to another ship. The Vashani were shocked. Their battle computers couldn't predict the humans' movements because they didn't follow standard military patterns. Instead, they moved like players in a video game, taking risks no trained pilot would consider. "This is impossible," shouted a Vashani officer as his ship was swarmed by hundreds of the small craft. They attached themselves to his hull and cut through with laser drills. Lieutenant Tekla arrived at Earth with her small group of rebel Vashani. Captain Ward greeted them at a specially prepared base. It was the first peaceful meeting between humans and Vashani. "My people have been wrong," Tekla said through a translator. "We have ruled through fear for too long." Ward nodded. "Help us end this war before more die on both sides." Together, they established contact with 3 other species who had been conquered by the Vashani: the bird-like Avari, the crystalline Luminar, and the gas giant dwelling Nebulans. All had been watching the human resistance with hope. "If humans can fight back, perhaps we can too," said the Avari representative during their first secret meeting. The turning point of the war came when Colonel Russell's strike team executed their most daring mission. Using Tekla's intelligence, they approached a Vashani dreadnought, one of their largest warships, during a moment when its shields were being recalibrated. "Remember your zero-gravity training," Susan told her team as they floated toward the massive ship. "We have exactly 10 minutes to capture the bridge." The operation went perfectly. The human strike team, using their quantum disruptors, caught the Vashani crew by surprise. Within minutes, they had control of the bridge. What they didn't expect was who they found there. "Susan," said a familiar voice as she entered the bridge. She turned, her gun raised, then froze. Standing before her, thin and tired but very much alive, was her husband, Major Alan Russell. "Alan," she cried, forgetting protocol completely as she floated across the room into his arms. "How did you?" "I've been hiding on Vashani ships for months," he explained quickly. "But we don't have time for reunions. This ship has something we need." He led her to the engine room, where strange blue light pulsed in complex patterns. "This is their faster-than-light drive. With this, we can take the fight beyond our solar system." On Earth, Dr. Gomes and her team received the schematics of the captured drive. "This changes everything," she said, her eyes wide with excitement. "We can reverse engineer this technology within weeks. The balance of power shifted dramatically. With faster-than-light capability, humans could now strike at Vashani territories across the galaxy. The defensive war had suddenly become offensive. On the diplomatic front, Captain Ward and Lieutenant Tekla's alliance grew stronger. Representatives from the Avari, Luminar, and Nebulons met secretly on Earth to form what they called the Free Species Coalition. Supreme Commander Vox, watching his grand plan collapse, made a desperate call to the High Council. "Send everything we have," he demanded. "These humans must be stopped before other systems rebel." In the captured dreadnought, renamed Hope by its new human crew, Alan and Susan Russell looked out at the stars. For the first time, they weren't just points of light. They were destinations, ready to take the fight to them. Alan asked, taking his wife's hand. She smiled. "They have no idea what's coming." The stars blurred outside the viewports as the human fleet made its first faster-than-light jump. 5 ships, led by the captured dreadnought Hope, appeared near a Vashani colony world. Admiral Paul Jackson, standing on Hope's bridge, watched the planet grow larger on the screen. "All ships report ready," his communications officer said. Jackson nodded. "Remember our mission. We're not here to destroy. We're here to liberate." For thousands of years, the Vashani had conquered worlds and ruled them through fear. No species had ever attacked them on their own territory. The colony world's defenders were completely unprepared when human ships appeared in their skies. "Attention Vashani colony," Jackson broadcast. "We offer you a choice. Join the Free Species Coalition, or evacuate. We have no quarrel with civilians." On the planet's surface, the local Vashani governor panicked. The enslaved Luminar population, seeing human ships above, began to revolt. Within hours, the colony changed hands with minimal bloodshed. News of this unprecedented attack spread quickly through Vashani space. The High Council, accustomed to centuries of absolute rule, fell into chaos. "Impossible," shouted one council member. "How could primitive humans reach our colonies?" The High Council leader slammed his fist down. "We should deploy the Star Killer weapons, destroy their home world completely." Others disagreed. "The Star Killers have been banned for millennia. Using them would make us no better than animals." For the first time in its history, the Vashani Imperium faced internal division. Some colonies, hearing of the human approach, chose to surrender without fighting. Others prepared for a last stand. On Earth, Secretary General Catherine Lewis addressed the United Nations. The room was packed with representatives from every nation, plus Lieutenant Tekla and ambassadors from the Avari, Luminar, and Nebulons. "We stand at a crossroads," Lewis said. "We can pursue total victory against the Vashani, or we can offer peace. What kind of species do we want to be remembered as? Conquerors or liberators?" The debate lasted for hours. Some argued for revenge for the lives lost when the war began. Others insisted that showing mercy would prove humans were better than their enemies. Meanwhile, Dr. Gomes made another crucial breakthrough. "We found a way to detect Vashani quantum communications," she told General Carter, showing him a complex device. "We can listen to every message they send across their empire." This intelligence advantage allowed humans to target Vashani leadership positions with surgical precision. Admiral Jackson's fleet liberated 3 more colony worlds in rapid succession, each time offering peaceful surrender before any shots were fired. Deep in Vashani space, Commander Galactic, who had survived the first contact disaster, found himself promoted as superior officers fell in disgrace. He studied human tactics carefully, noting how different they were from standard Vashani approaches. "They avoid civilian casualties," he told his officers. "They offer peace before attacking. They target military assets only." He looked out at the stars. "Perhaps we have misunderstood them from the beginning." Colonel Russell's Special Forces conducted their most daring mission yet, a raid on the Vashani Military Academy. Using stealth technology developed from captured ships, they slipped past defenses and downloaded tactical databases containing information on every Vashani battle plan. In the Academy's prison section, they found something unexpected. Aliens from many different species held for research. Among them were Major Russell's comrades, captured during earlier battles but kept alive for study. "We thought you were dead," Susan said as they freed the prisoners. One of them smiled weakly. "The Vashani don't like to waste potential intelligence sources." The freed prisoners provided invaluable information about Vashani society, including critical weaknesses in their governmental structure. The High Council, it seemed, ruled through a complex system of fear and tradition that was beginning to unravel under pressure. Back on Earth, Captain Ward and Lieutenant Tekla addressed the newly formed Galactic Cooperative. 20 species, all either formerly subjugated by the Vashani or hiding from them, now united in common cause. The Vashani believed their biggest mistake was attacking humans, Ward said. But their real mistake was believing that strength comes from conquest rather than cooperation. Tekla nodded. "My people have ruled through fear for thousands of years. Perhaps it is time for us to learn a new way." In Vashani High Command, Commander Galactic received the news that humans were approaching the core worlds. Unlike his superiors, he did not panic. Instead, the Vashani High Council gathered for an emergency session. Their empire, undefeated for 10,000 years, was crumbling around them. Colony worlds were declaring independence. Subjugated species were rising up. And the humans, those primitives they had dismissed, were advancing toward the Vashani homeworld itself. Supreme Commander Vox stood before the council, his once proud uniform now worn and dirty from months of constant battle. "We have no choice," he said, his voice echoing in the Grand Chamber. "We must use the Star Killer weapon against Earth. Destroy their homeworld, and their will to fight will collapse." Murmurs filled the room. The Star Killer had been banned for millennia, a weapon so terrible that even the Vashani had agreed never to use it again. "We cannot," said one elder counselor. "It violates our most sacred laws." "Laws?" Vox laughed bitterly. "What good are laws if our empire falls?" After heated debate, the council voted. By a narrow margin, they authorized the Star Killer's use. Deep in a secret facility, engineers began activating systems that had been dormant for thousands of years. On Earth, Dr. Gomes detected the energy spike immediately. "They're preparing something massive," she told General Carter and Secretary General Lewis. "Based on these readings, it could destroy our entire planet." Lewis looked grim. "How long do we have?" 3 days, maybe less." Carter nodded. "Then we have no choice. Admiral Jackson must lead our fleet to destroy that facility." Meanwhile, inside the Vashani command structure, Commander Galactic made his decision. He had been watching humans closely since that first disastrous contact. He had seen how they fought, not with cruelty, but with ingenuity, not seeking destruction, but liberation. "The High Council has lost its way," he told his gathered allies. They would destroy an entire world rather than admit their mistakes. One by one, his fellow officers nodded in agreement. What had begun as quiet doubt had grown into full rebellion. The Vashani Empire was not just fighting humans, it was fighting itself. As Admiral Jackson's fleet prepared to attack the Star Killer facility, Major and Colonel Russell led a smaller mission. Their target, the High Council chamber itself. "Are you sure about this?" Susan asked her husband as their stealth ship approached the Vashani homeworld. Alan nodded. "If we just destroy the weapon, they'll build another. We need to change their leadership." On Earth, Secretary General Lewis prepared for a different kind of mission. With Captain Ward and Lieutenant Tekla at her side, she would personally lead the human delegation to the first official Galactic Cooperative Assembly. 37 species had now joined, all seeking a new way forward. "We may not survive to see this day," she told her team. "But if we do, it will change galactic history forever." The final confrontation happened simultaneously across the galaxy. Admiral Jackson's fleet engaged the Star Killer facility, taking heavy losses but pressing forward with grim determination. The Russells and their team infiltrated the High Council chamber during emergency session, using quantum disruptors to disable defenses rather than kill. And in the middle of this chaos, Commander Galactic made his move. Using the communication systems of the Vashani homeworld, he broadcast evidence of the High Council's atrocities across all Vashani space. "For too long we have ruled through fear," his message said. "We have called it strength, but it was weakness. We have called it order, but it was tyranny." Images of peaceful worlds destroyed, of species enslaved, of resources plundered, all flashed across screens throughout the Empire. And then, images of humans, offering surrender terms before attacking, protecting civilians, freeing slaves rather than taking new ones. "The humans have shown us another way," Galactic continued. "Not conquest, but cooperation. Not subjugation, but alliance." In the High Council chamber, as the Russell team breached the doors, they found council members already turning on each other. Supreme Commander Vox drew his weapon, but before he could fire, his own officers restrained him. At the Starkiller facility, engineers received conflicting orders. Some continued the launch sequence, while others tried to stop it. In the confusion, Admiral Jackson's forces managed to plant charges at critical points. The explosion was visible across half the galaxy, not a star dying, but a weapon that would never be used again. 10 years later, representatives of 37 species gathered on Earth for the 10th anniversary of the Galactic Cooperative. Admiral Jackson, now white-haired and walking with a cane, watched with pride as ships from across the galaxy orbited peacefully above. Among them was a Vashani diplomatic vessel commanded by Admiral Galactic, come to pay respects to the species that had changed everything. The stars looked like tiny pins of light against the vast blackness of space. Captain Alan Clark stood on the bridge of the Horizon Asterisk, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The ship hummed softly around him as it moved through the Andromeda sector. "Captain, I'm picking up strange energy readings from that asteroid field," said Dr. Olivia Martinez. Her fingers moved quickly across her screen as she studied the data. Alan walked over to her station. "What kind of readings?" "Not natural, sir. Could be a ship," she replied. Alan nodded. "Change course. Let's check it out." The Horizon Asterisk was Earth's newest exploration vessel. Its mission was to find new planets where humans might live someday. The Andromeda sector was known to be dangerous, but it also held many secrets. As they approached the asteroid field, everyone grew quiet. If there was a ship out here, it wasn't human. No human ships had been this far into space before. "I see something," said the pilot, Greg Warren. "It's big, definitely a ship." On the screen, they could now see a dark shape floating among the asteroids. It was much larger than the Horizon Asterisk and had a strange design unlike anything they had seen before. "It's damaged," said Ryan Cooper, the security officer. "Looks like it was in a fight." Alan made his decision quickly. "Prepare a team. We're going to check it out." Noah Peterson, the ship's communications expert, joined the away team. He was younger than most of the crew, with curious eyes and a quick mind. While others saw danger, Noah saw opportunity. They put on their spacesuits and took a small shuttle to the alien ship. As they got closer, they could see huge holes torn in its hull. Whatever had attacked it had powerful weapons. "Stay alert," said Ryan, holding his weapon ready. "We don't know what's in there." Inside the ship, they found a scene of destruction. The halls were wide and tall, built for beings much larger than humans. The walls were covered in strange markings that seemed to glow faintly. "Captain," Noah called through the radio. "I'm picking up a signal. It's weak, but it's coming from deeper in the ship." "Could be a trap," warned Ryan. Alan thought for a moment. "We'll continue, but carefully." They followed Noah's readings to a large room that looked like it might be the bridge. Most of it was destroyed, but in the corner, something moved. The team froze. In the dim light, they could see a massive shape. It was at least twice the size of a human, with multiple limbs and dark scales that seemed to absorb the light around it. Along its body, patterns of blue and green light pulsed slowly. "That's a Nexus stalker," whispered Ryan, raising his weapon. "They're the deadliest predators in the galaxy. All ships have orders to avoid them at all costs." The creature was injured. Black fluid leaked from wounds on its body, and its movements were slow and weak. It made a low sound that echoed through the room. Noah stepped forward, ignoring Ryan's warning to stay back. There was something about the way the lights on the creature's body were pulsing. They didn't seem random. They had a pattern. "I don't think it's trying to attack," Noah said. "I think it's trying to talk to us." "Are you crazy?" Ryan hissed. "Those things have destroyed entire colonies." But Noah wasn't listening. He moved closer to the injured alien. The patterns of light shifted as he approached. "Hello," Noah said, knowing the creature couldn't understand his words. He tried using his hands to make simple gestures. The creature's lights flickered rapidly. It raised one of its limbs slowly, not in threat, but in a mirroring of Noah's gesture. "Noah, get back here now," ordered Alan. "Captain, I think we've been wrong about them," Noah said, his voice filled with excitement. "This isn't just an animal. It's intelligent." The ship's doctor, Samantha Wright, pushed past Ryan. "It's dying. If we're going to save it, we need to act now." Alan looked at the deadly alien, then at Noah's hopeful face. Every report, every story he had ever heard told him to leave this creature to die. But something about Noah's certainty made him pause. "Save it," he finally said. "But it's your responsibility, Noah." Noah nodded, knowing that his life had just changed forever. The galaxy's deadliest predator was now in his care.